So we can take the idea of an abstraction, we could bring it one step further. We've got basic osc.maxpack here as our abstraction, and that's got this nice synthesizer just contained right there, an oscillator right there. We kind of built this synthesizer, but it's still busier than it could be. There's an object called bpatcher, that will, basically it's doing the same thing as this abstraction where you just type in the name of a patch, of an external patch, but it'll actually render the patch in a window. So you can kind of have this a view of the patch and you can interact with it as well. So if we did bpatcher and then wrote the name of our other patcher file, basic osc.maxpat, click enter, you can see that it actually is showing what's inside that patch. So this is basically the same thing. This abstraction here and this is just a way to visualize it. And we could use this to our advantage to make this look even more simple. So let's go over to our project window and open up basic osc.maxpat. The first thing we're going to want to do is, let's see, well, let's make that full screen, inspector, and then click open in presentation. And so this will hold true for when being used in a bpatcher argument. It'll open up in the presentation mode. So we can unlock this patcher. Let's select these two and say add to presentation. Let's look at the presentation mode. We'll bring these up here like that. Okay, now Control S to save it, and let's exit out. And now you can see that we've exposed the frequency and amplitude objects in presentation mode from basic osc.maxpat, and you can see them here in the bpatcher window. Now we can take this one step further by opening up presentation mode again. Let's unlock and let's label these. So we can say frequency, we'll just abbreviate that. And let's make this even smaller because we're going for a nice concise view. Bring that down to 8 and make that bold so it's a little easier to see. Okay, frequency, drag it like that, and I'm actually going to center it, that text. If you're having trouble dragging it exactly where you want, you can actually just use your arrow keys once it's selected. Okay, I'm gonna now copy paste that so I don't have to redo all that same, those same font settings. I'll just say amp like that. Okay, let's see how that looks. Maybe we could bring this up maybe even a little more. Save, and let's exit out, and look at that. So rather than having all this right here, we can just get rid of that. We've got this nice convenient little object with the same exact inputs and outputs if we wanted to dynamically shift them around. But let's get rid of those, copy paste. Look at that. We've got, all of a sudden, we've got a ton of oscillators, each with their frequency and amplitude parameters exposed that we can just mess around with individually. Now, if we save this, close it, and then open it back up, whoop, there you go. It's a nice effect there. Abstraction test. You can see these are all set to 0 again. How do we fix that? Let's go back into basic OSC. It's actually just something to do with those float objects. Come in here, unlock the patch. I'm going to select both of them and open up our inspector window. And And we want to enable parameter mode. So under the parameter section, well, make sure when you click inspector, you've got all selected. Go down to parameter mode enable, and let's enable that. And we get all these other options. And we want to say initial enable. You could read the description. If enabled, the parameter will be set to an initial value as specified in the initial value column. Okay, so we could do initial enable, and we could set exactly what we wanted these to initialize as, so it didn't start as 0. So how about 244? Okay, except nope, that doesn't work for amplitude, does it? Sorry, we'll have to just do that for frequency, and then for amplitude, we'll want to do that at probably like maybe 0.4, something like that. Okay, we'll save that. Now we don't get a bunch of zeros there. There's another way to save these values as the last value that you set it to, but we'll cover that in another video. For now, this is a nice way to just initialize that object with a value so it doesn't open up as 0. Okay, have fun with that.